Man, that video that you shared really kind of impacted me, and I felt like it deserved a video response. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, but I can relate to a lot of what you're going through. I personally have had my house raided by FBI agents and all of my electronic devices taken. Thankfully, with the kind-heartedness of the people of Puerto Rico, some good friends of mine banded together, gave me some technology to get me back up and running, keep me going. So I can relate to all that. Thankfully, I got everything back after the investigation was completed. But man, I know how difficult of a situation that puts you in, and I can sincerely sympathize with what you're going through. You shared a lot with me in person when we met the other day that you didn't get into, and I understand your desire for privacy on that, so I won't get into that too much. I will say that I don't watch a lot of news. I actually watch zero news. I haven't had a cable subscription in probably the last 15 years or so. I generally make up most of my opinions based on the interactions I see between the government and the people, and that's generally the lens I view things through. The news, social media, the mainstream news and social media loves to pick little certain topics that are very divisive and that people make knee-jerk reactions to and take one side or the other. But if you begin to look at things through the perspective of, instead of us versus them, your common man, when you look at the power creep, or as they call it in the tech industry, feature creep, of what the government was initially set up here in the United States to do and what it has become now, we are very, very quickly giving up power with each election cycle as we give more and more authority to the government to oppress our fellow man. Whether you be on one side or the other, both sides always ask for the government to take more control over their opponents. And sadly, that's led to a position where this left versus right, red versus blue, is just constantly feeding this beast of a government that is constantly growing larger and larger and larger. And on both extremes, both the left have gripes about the government and the right have gripes about the government, yet they continually feed the beast. They continue to grow this monster that is wildly out of control. You should not be in a situation, it's not right to live in a country where you fear your government. I don't want to come off as arrogant or talking smack or anything like that. Here in Puerto Rico, I don't fear the government here. I mean, you know it's generally corrupt. You kind of stay out of their way, they stay out of your way. Some of the things that they do are highly oppressive. Right now we have this COVID lockdown that's akin to something in Australia, I would imagine, or California definitely, New York definitely. I mean, it is absolutely insane what they're doing here on the island. So yes, there are some governmental policies that do affect my life personally, but for the most part, everyone kind of stays out of each other's way. And I'm really out of tune with what's going on in the United States. I actually could not give an F less. I mean, I'm from there. I mean, I'm born in Maryland and been in the United States 2/3 of my life, essentially. But when it comes to what's coming on mainstream media and social media, I believe that the powers that be benefit greatly from dividing us. And I think and as you said, I think a lot of people hold a very centrist view, but the headlines, the things that sell newspapers and get viewers and followers, are these extreme opinions, these extreme lefts and extreme rights, and that's like we're left feeling like there's only two choices: either you're left or you're right, and you have to espouse all the extremes of both of those ideologies. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I believe the vast majority of people, humans in general, are very centrist. They just want to be left alone by their government to live their lives however they see fit. And as long as you are not aggressing against someone else, or as the Hippocratic oath is, to do no harm, where you don't harm your neighbor, don't harm yourself, and just stay out of my business. Let me live my life, and I'll let you do the same. I could care less who you marry, what you do, what the color of your skin is, whatever your preferences in life are. The government has no business in that at all. It has no business to tell you, like, seriously. I mean, and as far as our communities, I spoke to you about this when we met. The camaraderie of the local communities and local government, and bringing things back to the local level, and stop giving so much power to these federal authorities and these governmental bodies that could give a crap less what's going on in your neighborhood. And giving, and like, I don't know where this trust for the government has suddenly come from. I mean, all of my life I've been surrounded with people who claim they have a distrust for authority, a distrust for government. They distrust big pharma, they distrust big tech, they distrust big government. And now that trifecta is what is currently running the world at this moment. I mean, legit, every country you go to, people are throwing it, prostrating, bowing down, worshiping, licking the boots of these oppressive three. I mean, big tech does not have your best interest in mind. You are a product. You are nothing more than a product to them and some dollars on their balance sheet. Big pharma, yes, they make, life-saving medications, but they're doing it for a massive, massive profit. And every chance that we get to try to curtail that and bring that into check, they're deeply in bed with politicians, and any efforts to bring any sort of reasonability to the pricing structure in these things is met with a total smash. And big government, we can't even get the JFK files released because it's it could do damage to the power structure at this point. So, I mean, it's just like, when did people begin to be worshipers, followers, acolytes of these big pharma, big tech, and big government? I don't know where this is coming from. I never imagined to see this in my lifetime. Maybe it was just the people I hung around. We've always had a big distrust for these things. I generally assumed that was the common knowledge. Like, I don't know. So I just wanted to kind of leave everyone with that thought. If we can, let us try to unify, and there is a third party, and I think that's what a lot of people forget. It's not just Republican, Democrat, left, and right. There is a center. And in that center, there's a group called the Libertarians. And I'm not an advertisement for libertarianism. I'm not a candidate or anything of that nature. But there is a third flavor of politics, if you will. There's like a Neapolitan. You've got your vanilla on one side, and you've got chocolate in the middle, and you've got strawberry on the other side. You can be chocolate. You can be chocolate. There is candidates out there. They never win. And there's a lot of things in place to prevent them from even getting their voices heard, to get on the public stage. And it's generally sold as, oh, you're wasting your vote if you vote for Libertarian. I vote Libertarian. I voted Libertarian in the last election. I didn't particularly like the candidates they put forward. However, I would like to just give a big, giant middle finger to the system and the way it's currently set up. And that's my way of saying, F you guys, I want out of the system. And in this day and age, thankfully, thanks to a lot of wonderful developments in technology, we have that option to live outside of the monetary system. We have the opportunity to live outside the governmentary system. We have the ability to make contracts outside of the means that they have currently set up. And we can vote however the F we choose. And I choose not to give my vote to anyone that espouses either these far left and far right things. And I mean, we also have to admit that really whoever gets into that White House in the end is generally a puppet. They're a puppet run by lobbyists, corporate interests. There is nobody there representing the little guy. There is no one with common sense. The rhetoric always sounds great. They placate anybody and everybody they can, but at the moment they take power, they're really powerless. They're powerless. They're just simply a mouthpiece for corporate interests, and you see that every time. It doesn't matter. They may genuinely have the best interests and the best intents at heart, but I think we all can admit we have seen a candidate we thought might have the potential to turn things around, help the common man, help the little guys, and time again they have failed. And the only ones that end up winning in the end are these large multinational corporations, pharmaceutical corporations, and the little guy is suffering more than ever today than ever before. So if we can, please try to spread a message of unity rather than this message of division. Stop with the identity politics. Stop making everything through the lens of an identity of this group or an identity of that group. If there are any groups that we need to see us and the elites, us and the government. And generally the elites are in bed with the government. Power centralizes, power continues to grow power. Powerful people are not there with your best interests at heart. They are not trying deeply and spiritually to affect the working class person, you and I, and to help us out of our difficult situations. If anything, they simply entrench their power deeper and deeper every day. So let's please look at how we can dismantle that power. How can we get different voices? How can we get different views? How can we get the center represented? And if that means wasting your vote on a libertarian, send that message. Send that message. Send that message to the world that we want a different system. And I think if enough people get on board with it, at least people will begin to take notice, like, hey, more and more people are voting outside of these party lines. We need a bigger representation of the center. And maybe some of this hyperbolic news and all of this incendiary, inflammatory language that they use and all of this stuff will be seen for what it is on mainstream media, that it's simply entertainment. It is not journalism. It is not factual reporting. It is little hot takes that will get a knee-jerk reaction and get an emotional response, get you fired up and sharing and talking. And it's entertainment. It is not a credible source for information any longer. So I encourage everyone to do their research, but please come together and stop focusing on petty little topics. And man, best of luck to you, dude. I really hope that that things go well and things go your way. I really hope that they don't, try to make an example of people that step up against power. We're at a point in human history where people live in fear of their government. And as I told you before, the government should be afraid of us. And I'm not saying that as a threat. I'm not threatening to do something violent or start a revolution or anything like that. But the government are supposed to be public servants. They are supposed to work for us. That is clearly no longer the case. They work for themselves. They work for their corporate interests. They're pretty much like sponsored race car drivers with logos out the wazoo of donations to them personally, to their campaigns, to their charities, you name it. They are no longer public servants. They are corporate servants, if anything. And we need to change that dynamic. So best of luck to you, man. Let's see if we can see a future for us or our children or our children's children where they have a government that respects them. There are people in power that respect the power of the people instead of the power of the dollar, instead of the power of the corporations. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, man. Sorry it's been so long-winded. Best of luck to you, man, and God bless. Take care.